Dylan.
Yeah.
Word on the street is you got a Stump Me Dave truck in here.
I do.
Is it stumped you?
A little bit. This is something I've never seen before in a Cummins.
It came with a no start. What's the matter?
Yeah, so this truck, the customer's saying it's not starting. The starter's spinning, but it's spinning at like full revolution, like there's no drag. So it's like
it's like no compression.
Yeah, it's like no compression in the engine. Yeah, and every once in a while when I first go to start, I kind of get a little pop, but then it's just nothing after that.
That's weird. A Cummins, well, the first thing, a cooling system. Are we pumping pressure in the cooling system?
No, with it cranking over, I had the cap off and put a glove on it, and
it's not
seeing anything yet.
You don't have any pressure coming out of there?
No.
Maybe we should put a pressure tester on it too, just to make sure that it, Do
you want to hear it?
Yeah, let me hear it. Whoa. Oh. Shoot, do that again. That does not. Okay, it didn't. Stop. It's the auto button. Okay, try it again. I just want to hear it again. It did like that, a clack at first, like it was pushing a rod out of the. Wow. And it's not building any pressure up in the cooling system.
No, it's not.
Let's get a pressure tester. Let's just check it just for pisses and giggles, I guess. Wow, usually when it sounds like that, you got a totally blown head gasket. Or you've sheared a cam gear. Have you looked to see if can you see if the rocker arms are?
Yeah, so I pulled the oil fill cap, and then you can see one of the rocker arms for cylinder 1 is moving up and down.
So you can see that.
Yeah, so I know my camshaft is spinning. At least on number 1.
Let me put a little pressure in it. Okay, crank on it.
Ready?
Go ahead. Yeah, okay. Nothing. Dude, this is a stumper.
Yeah.
Unless he's got like holes in his pistons, and he burned us down.
Yeah, so you can see, I don't know if you want to show, but we can pull this
Yeah, let's look at that. Let me have you crank on it while I look at the rocker and see if it's going up and down. Okay, go ahead. Yep. You are correct, man. That rocker is moving.
Yeah.
Gosh, I think the first thing we're gonna have to do is pull the valve cover off, take injectors out, and bore scope the dang thing, dude.
Yeah, and I did wiggle this grid heater. He's still got his stock grid heater in there, and it doesn't have lots of play on top, so.
So you don't think it's dropped the
and usually when it drops the nut, it goes into cylinder 6 and just takes out that one cylinder.
Right,
so to lose it across all of them, or most of the cylinders.
This is weird. You're right. This is stumping me. This is highly unusual.
Yeah.
I mean, a Duramax would do this because it would be, could have sheared the pin.
Yeah.
The pin's on the crank or the cam, but this isn't really known for anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's sell the guy, pull the valve cover off, and have a deeper look. I don't know what else to do. That's weird.
Yeah.
That is so weird. And the oil looks and smells okay?
Yeah, his oil level's good.
Wow.
Yeah, still got oil. And
130,000?
Yeah, 130,000 miles. I did check the data on the scan tool. It is building high pressure fuel as well. So I know that gear's turning too.
Why don't you, let me hear it one more time when I'm up here, just crank it. Wow.
See, we kind of get a little bit of compression there at the start, and sometimes it makes that knock, but then it's just nothing, so.
And it, it almost sounds like if this was a gasser, where you have really no ring tension, I would think, man, you've washed the cylinder walls.
Yeah.
But diesels don't do that.
Yeah.
Their ring tension is like, nah, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
So dude, I'm stumped.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to find out what it is. All right, well, listen, man, I'm gonna go call the customer.
Okay.
Get the lowdown on, how this happened. I mean, was he
I'd be
driving
curious to know how it died,
Yeah. There's no notes on the ticket that it overheated or gave him any grief, but let me call him.
Okay.
Mike, hi, this is Dave at Dave's Auto in Centerville.
I don't know if I want to talk to you.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
I I think this thing sounds pretty scary to me.
You know, I don't take offense to that, Mike. I actually get that a little bit. You know, people are like, oh no, this is not good. Dave's calling
I
me.
don't think this is going to be good after reading the text.
I don't know whether it's good or bad yet, so I'll be honest with you about that. Tell me, were you driving this and then it died? Did you just park it and all of a sudden, I mean, was it running hot?
No, I was just parked in my garage. It was probably parked there for 2 or 3 days before I went and started it.
When you pulled it into your garage, it was running fine.
Yeah.
Well, if you could see my face, you'd see that it's got that look of like confusion on it, and that doesn't happen to me very often. I don't mean to brag, to be honest with you, but I genuinely, and especially on a Cummins, you know, something's not right. That's obviously, I know this is you like, am I paying this guy for this professional opinion?
I paid that $200 for that.
Yeah, exactly. Your flux capacitor's burned out. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
This particular motor, to have that spinny sound, where what that is that means you're developing no compression. None of the cylinders. Now, the valve train is working. I haven't pulled the valve cover off the motor yet, but I pulled the oil cap off and I can see one rocker arm bridge. It's going up and down when I'm cranking on it. So that's telling me the crankshaft and the cam gear are still hooked up and the cam is turning. You know, usually if you have a motor that spins like this freely, it'll be like a severely blown head gasket. But you're not developing any compression in the cooling system. You're not, you know, if you had that, you could pull the radiator cap off or the overflow bottle cap off and crank on it, and you get like a gusher of water coming out of it because every piston stroke, it would be developing compression in the cooling system. You don't have that. You've had something really fail, and this isn't an easy motor like to be guessing on. And so it wasn't good that I called you, Mike, because I have less answers than anybody else in this place would have had for you.
You can't solve it. I don't think anyone can.
Well, no, I guarantee I can solve it. That I can promise you. I won't charge you a dime if I can't solve it. I've worked that way for 35 years. If I can't fix you, I don't charge you. But what we're going to have to do first is we're going to have to do a little teardown. I'm going to have to pull. The first step was going to pull the valve cover off. And then at that time, I'll be able, if I don't find a problem then, if all the rock arms are working, then I'm going to pop a injector out of it, run a bore scope down one of the cylinders and find out what's going on. Because you got no compression. That's why it sounds the way it does. It just free spins.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and do all that.
I have never...
we can fix it, okay?
It might not make you feel any better, but I'm telling you right now, Mike, I've never had a Cummins do this to me. I've had Cummins come in here for all kinds of problems. My foreman, we're both looking at each other like, you know, what could cause that? So anyway, the thing wasn't running hot, never gave you a lick of problem, parked it in the garage, and that was the end of that?
Yeah, I hardly even use my truck anymore. Just sits at home all the time. I'm trying to think of...
Yeah, you only have 10,000 miles on it since we saw it last year. So you don't put a lot of miles on it. All right, well, we'll tear it down, Mike. I'll be back in touch with you later today.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I'm going to do something I very rarely do, but I need some help here. I'm going to ask ChatGPT what they think. So I'm going to give it as much information as I have, and let's see where it tells me to go. 2015 Ram 2500 pickup truck with a 6.7 liter Cummins spins over freely like it has no compression, and there is not a blown head gasket. What else could cause that problem? So it says a valve timing issue. That's why we're going to pull I can only see one bridge working, and it is. Slipped or broken timing gear. That's kind of broken or stuck open valves. Again, the head's got to come off. Camshaft or lifter failure. That's, I'm thinking, you know, like the cam is just snap in half. Drop valve seats. Rare, but sometimes seen. Cracked pistons. That's, I mean, one of them to be bad, but you'd have it like, boom, boom, you know, you'd have that kind of a noise because one of the cylinders, you know, the other cylinders would be developing compression. This thing's got no compression developing. Severe fuel wash. Ooh, that could be it too. Crankshaft or camshaft. Yep. So ChatGPT is as clueless as I am. So we're going to have to pull the valve cover off, and let's start there.
Got some loose bolts already. right, here we are. We've got the valve cover off. Just kind of give it a quick visual inspection. Right now I'm looking at the valves. They sit down here under the valve bridges. Just curious to see if I can see anything obviously broken. Just a little bit of play there. Push rods are still touching the rocker arms. So we'll have someone turn over the engine for us, and then we'll see if we can see the valve train moving on all the cylinders. It looks like they're moving. You can see all of them moving up and down. That's good. You can hear some pressure there. It is normal to get a little bit, but it kind of lingers. Doesn't look like any valves are broken, from what I can see. Looking at these push rods, they look straight still. I know they're moving up and down, so. Well, it's looking like we're gonna need to pull a couple injectors out and bore scope the cylinders, so that way we can be able to tell what it looks like down inside the cylinders and confirm our suspicion of a no compression. We could do a compression test while that's done. So we're not seeing any obvious issues with this valve train up top, so more than likely inside.
What's going on, Dylan?
We looked at that 6.7 Cummins with the compression issues.
Okay.
And we found that all the push rods are moving up and down. All the valve bridges are still on the valves. None of the valves look obviously broken. So the next step would be to pull fuel injectors so we can bore scope the cylinders and do a compression test.
Okay, so we got to dive in a little deeper.
Yeah, we got to dive in deeper. Yeah, all the push rods are moving up and down. All the valve bridges are still on the valves. None of the valves look obviously broken.
Well, I guess we got to make a phone call.
Yeah.
This is bizarre.
Yeah, this is crazy.
3 hours later.
You know, I do read comments, and I ask people on that Cummins. Somebody just lit it up out there.
Yeah, someone's having a good time without us. What are we doing in here?
But one of the comments, not one, there was a couple of comments. Most of it was like what we're thinking, broke crank, broke cam, which we've eliminated. Occasionally, the Army is right. I mean, a few of them are saying throttle plate. And I was like, oh, that's right. This is a 2015, 2016.
Yeah, this is a 15.
I think they started putting them in like 2012, 2013
Yeah.
on that 6.7, and we don't even pay attention to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of the emission
Never
control.
really crosses your mind. You know, a
Doesn't-
diesel struggling for air, like, when do you ever think of that? Yeah.
So I want you to pull the throttle body off. I'm going to give the guy a free valve adjustment because we pulled the valve cover off to make sure that, you know, the valve train was actually functioning.
Yeah.
It is. He's got 130,000 miles on it. He's due for a valve adjustment. Let's just pull the. Let's
Yeah,
pull
that's
the
easy to check.
Let's
Yeah,
let's
just
check it.
pull
Let's
it off
check it
real
out.
quick and look.
Let's go check it out.
I don't know if Matt talked to you too. There's actually a shop from Texas that called this morning that said to check this too.
Oh,
They even had a phone call, but
Oh, that's nice.
yeah.
Okay.
Just kind of set this up here.
Let's see if it'll start, bro.
All right. Yeah, it's not terrible.
Not terrible. Nothing like it when you're wrong and you find out you got some help and now you can be right. It's a wonderful feeling.
It runs.
It's alive.
It'll be a little smoky. All
All
that
right,
fuel has been in
so-
there, but whew.
I don't get to do this often, man, but thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
I mean, think about all the work they just saved us, you know?
Well, yeah,
and
because
the customer.
well, the customer's the stress. I wouldn't have charged. It's like the valve, the valve cover. We pulled the valve cover off because we want to look at the valve train working. I'm not charging him for that. If you've got a diesel that's got an intake throttle plate on it, and it just is free spinning, give it some air and see if it'll start. Mike,
Yeah.
You know, I talked to you, I think it was yesterday, about how this thing was weird, and then, so we pulled the valve cover off, couldn't find anything wrong, and then we're like, well, we're gonna have to bore scope it. So, you know, even the whole time I'm still in my head, I'm like, that can't be. I mean, how could the whole dang motor go down? So then we put out a video, and I'm sure you probably see it because you follow me, and we had a couple.
Yeah, I was up at 4 in the morning reading all the posts.
Yeah, dude, the thing went nuclear, huh?
Yep.
But I did check the comments because I get an alert that you know, things are blowing up, and when I read the one comment or a couple of them about throttle valve, the first thing I thought was, wait a minute, this thing's Cummins, it ain't got a throttle valve. Well, they started putting them on in 2013 for when they regen for EGR, so they get more exhaust gases on a regen. And I was like, no way. I said, that could be it. I said, because most diesels do not have a throttle valve. I don't know whether you're aware of that, but you know, most diesels have an air intake hose to an air filter, and that's it. It's a big old air. It's not like a gas engine that has a valve that opens and closes as you accelerate. So we came in today, I pulled off the EGR valve, and so now we could get air. It's the quickest way to do it. Bypass the throttle plate and it was shut, and it should be open, and it was shut, and the truck fired right up. Now it's smoking like crazy because it's got all that excessive fuel from cranking on it in it, but it fired right up. And then it all made sense. It's like, okay, you pulled it in the garage, that throttle valve, which is controlled by an electric motor, opens and closes this like it's a 3-inch round circle, a throttle plate, and it's burned out. It's just, you pulled it in, it went shut, it won't motor open again. That's your problem, guy.
Yeah, I don't even care what it costs now.
Well, so now let me tell you what I feel like, because, you know, I know. See, look how that works. It's like when you think you have cancer and all you need is an organ removed and you don't have cancer, you're like, whoo, that's good. So I'm going to make it even better for you. Why we had your valve cover off, you know, checking to see, you know, are all the rocker arms going up and down, because we were trying to, you know, we were running down the wrong, the path here. I went ahead and gave you a valve adjustment. Your valves were out of adjustment, and that is something that should be done on a Cummins about every 100,000 miles. So I went ahead and adjusted the valves while the valve cover was off. We never touched the injectors, so obviously you're not going to be paid for that. You're not going to be charged for the valve adjustment, the removal of the valve cover. I wouldn't charge anybody for running down the wrong path, okay? I never have, and I wouldn't. But while we're in there, I thought, just because you were such a nice guy and I caused you probably not to sleep very well, I want you to know we'll adjust your valves for you and throw that in. And this throttle.
Is there any tune-up that needs to be done, since I haven't really done any service on it when it hits 100,000, like spark plugs or even differentials or transmission?
I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll go ahead and look it all over for you and get this throttle body replaced. You're going to be less money than we were just for the diagnosis of all this stuff, you know. Let's just keep it where it's at. That was our mistake. Let me own that. I want to own that. That's how we learn. But then that money that you would normally spend on that, let's put it towards the service of the rest of your truck that really, you know, like you said, it probably needs some service.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for all your help.
Thank you, man. It's good working for you. Appreciate it. See, you know, do I like making mistakes? No. But remember, you only get successful off your mistakes. You know, you got to learn from them. And that's a great learning one. And again, I say to everybody out there in the, you know, the Dave's Army, all your comments, that was so helpful. Thank you for your help. Dylan, I got your valve here.
Oh, for that Cummins?
Yeah, for the Cummins. But listen, did you read any of the comments about any of them on it or anything like that? It got really good comments.
I read the ones where they suggested the valve.
Yeah, but did you hear what a lot of people, they claimed that I called it the wrong thing, that it's a combobulator valve or something like that?
Camouflator valve?
Oh, dude, it was like, and at first I thought people were just kidding around, but so many people commented on it, I was like, I got to check it out. But anyway, according to the factory, it's called intake throttle valve. So I don't know what the people out there call, you know, a combobulator. But anyway, let's first off make sure it's the right one. Whip that bad boy out there. Tell me if it's the right one.
Tell you what, that looks a lot better.
It does. That's it right
I think
there.
you can breathe some more air through there.
And it's defaulted as it open.
Yep.
And yours Where's yours?
Mine's sitting on my box right now.
Let's go look at it. Now, it's not really carboned up that bad compared to what it could look like. But we do notice that it comes out of the box, brand new one's open, wide open. This one's stuck shut. Mystery solved. I think you guys are trying to put one over on me with this combobulator stuff. Let's get the combobulator valve on here.
Get that
Just
on there?
kidding. It's called the throttle intake valve. And let's see if this thing will fire up and run, dude.
All right, sounds good. All right, we got the new part installed. Let's see if the truck fires up now. Well, progress. The truck's running. Got the new throttle valve installed here, got the shield back on it and the intercooler pipe on, and should be ready to roll now.